Hey guys, it's Luca. I want to make another video really quick. This is going to be my second video in the MTG Finance series that I'm posting to my YouTube account. Today the topic is parallels between economics/finance and games. So you might have already thought about this a little bit. You might have already thought, okay, yeah, there are some kind of similarities between what goes on in economics and what goes on in games. I think this topic is particularly useful for people that are doing MTG Finance. And the reason is you've already been playing a lot of Magic, presumably. You've already picked up a lot of skills in how to win more games of Magic. And I'm going to show you in this video how you can kind of apply those ideas to finance in particular. I'm going to start with number one, an undergrad story. So this was basically the first place where I kind of connect the dots. When I was in undergrad, I was a math major. We were required to take 3 courses in the social sciences and 3 courses in the humanities, assuming you had like a hard science major. So if I didn't have these requirements, I would have just taken all math classes throughout my undergrad because I just liked math. It was pretty easy for me. But I'm glad that I was forced out of it a little bit, because when I took my first economics course, I fell in love with it. I really, really loved it, and it wasn't until a few years later that it kind of hit me like, okay, why do I really enjoy economics? Why are these ideas why do they hit me so hard, I guess? And the reason is because I think there's almost like a one-to-one parallel between economics and games, and I've been playing games my whole life. So let me go into that a little bit more. Basically, the way I see economics, like microeconomics, microeconomics is basically, from my understanding, is like the study of decision making. So it's like game theory. It's like, you know, if we put people in these situations and they have all these different decisions they can make, and then if we attach some kind of outcome to all these decisions, if he makes this decision, he makes this much money. If he makes that decision, it makes that much money, and so on. If we kind of have like a clear model, and maybe we have risk, maybe we have different. Maybe you're getting like $5 this year and $10 the next year, so maybe we're kind of messing around with different periods of time and so on. But the idea really, to me, comes down to choices. So to me, economics is the study of choices. And when you break it down into choices, kind of the fundamental unit that we're interested in is opportunity cost. So if you've studied any economics, you've probably heard of this idea of opportunity cost. And the idea really is, given a situation where you have, some number of choices, what is the best choice to make? What are you giving up by choosing one over the other? So, let me try to think of some examples. So, one example that comes up in finance a lot is, let's say you can make an investment. Let's say you are going to invest $100, and in a year it'll pay you back $200. That seems pretty great, right? You might be super excited to make this investment. It might seem like a no-brainer. However, what you learn in economics is you really can't really measure or judge this investment on its own. You have to compare it to what other investments you have available. So if you're going to really make this investment, you have to make sure you don't have any better ones. Maybe it's the case that, yeah, you can invest $100 and get paid $200 back. But maybe that's actually the worst investment you have available to you. Maybe the other choices are you pay $100 and get paid back $1,000 a year from now. So that's kind of the idea of opportunity cost. And you can see this coming up in games all the time, right? Another way to think of games is games are, a series of decisions that you have to make. And at any given point, you really have to decide, what decision is going to give me the best chances of winning the game. So let's try to think about a parallel really quick in like Magic. Let's say you have a play that, will wipe out your opponent's board of creatures and draw you 5 cards and put your opponent down to 1 life. Sounds pretty great, right? You pretty much will have the game locked up, but maybe your other decision just wins you the game on the spot. So kind of similarly here, we really need to compare our decisions to all the other decisions we have available to us. And I think kind of almost just another way of phrasing this is resource management. So you might have heard about resource management. Usually this is an idea that's referred to a lot in Magic, and I would say probably in lots of other strategy games. I've heard it defined that strategy is basically the management of resources. So, and I don't think I've explained that very clearly, but basically one way of thinking of it is, anytime you're giving a decision and you're trying to choose between your different options, you are kind of balancing your resources. So let's say you're playing a game of Magic, you have 5 different options. One of the options you're going to be, keeping your life total high, but maybe you're chumping with a creature, so you're kind of giving up a creature for your life total. Maybe another option, you're spending your turn to draw some cards, so you're kind of giving up tempo, but you're gaining cards. Maybe another option you have is to kill your opponent. Maybe another option you have is to attack your opponent and kind of threaten their life total, but in the process you're leaving yourself open to an attack from them. So maybe you're trading some of your life total for your opponent's life total, and so on and so forth. So I think kind of an isomorphic idea to the idea of opportunity cost, to the idea of decision making, is this idea of resource management. So this is kind of the main idea of my video, is that if you've already been playing a lot of strategy games, presumably you've been playing a lot of Magic, this is a video that's mostly about MTG finance, you can kind of try to take these ideas that you've probably honed over many years and apply them to finance. So let's get into the finance bit. My third point here, example of resources in MTG finance. So anytime you're dealing with any kind of strategic decision making, and finance is definitely one of them, I think you really want to try to identify, okay, what are my resources? What are the resources that are relevant? And when I started MTG Finance, I was kind of borrowing a lot from, the stock market. And I don't think that's, some of the ideas are good, but you're also going to be missing out on a lot of other ideas. So let's talk about the very fundamental building blocks that probably everyone already has in mind. So these are like how much money you have to invest, right? So, and also like time, like how much time. Stop here, get back to this later. Hey guys, I'm back. I got a little bit tongue-tied, so I kind of clarified things in my own mind really quickly. So basically, I'm trying to talk about some of these like common ideas that come up in the finance, specifically like if you're investing in the stock market, and how they don't quite fit into MTG finance too well. So let's talk about some resources here. So for example, some of the resources you have to think about normally in finance are like how much money do you have available, what are the different investments that you have available to you, so how you're going to allocate between these different investments. So if you watch my last video, you would have seen that one of the really big issues in Magic Online finance is you can't put all your money into one investment. You just can't buy that many copies of a single card. So you're going to have to think about things differently. You're going to really have to think about, because normally in the stock market, let's say Coca-Cola is going to be the best investment available to you, like clearly better than every other investment. You can put all the money you have in Coca-Cola, unless you have trillions of dollars, which you probably don't. You can put it all there. Obviously, this doesn't work in Magic Online. So really, one of the resources you have to think about when you're investing in Magic Online is, okay, how many copies of this card did I already invest in? How many copies of this card do I have left that I can invest in? Another one is money available. When you have a certain size portfolio in the stock market, I assume like the difference between let's say a $2 million portfolio and a $4 million portfolio, your returns are probably almost exactly the same. In Magic Online, since you are really restricted by how many copies of a card you can buy, a smaller portfolio is going to way outperform a larger one in terms of the return that you're getting. So these are definitely some things to think about. And it also kind of ties into the whole idea of risk management. I see a lot of people really get this wrong in Magic Finance, where they're kind of borrowing ideas from the stock market. Where in the stock market, you are often told that you want to diversify. And diversification is good in the sense that if you have a lot of completely equivalent bets that you're making, then you can mix between them. But if you're living in a world, which I think you are in Magic, where there's basically a small number of cards that you can choose from, there's probably only a few hundred cards at any given time that really make sense to invest in. And they're not all going to have the same outcomes. I think you can if you have a good system, you can really clearly identify, like, okay, some of these bets are way better than the other bets, and you really just want to put all your money into those bets. So that's another kind of thing you want to think about. I think generally you really want to put all your money into a small number of cards when you're doing MTG finance. Okay, and then these last 2 points that I have here, these are really the big ones that I really learned over the past 2 years. These are some of the biggest lessons that I learned, and I think it's very easy to overlook them. So let's talk about this bullet point, mental focus / organization. So one of the resources that is really going to matter to you is your own mental powers, let's say. You can only put so much thought into something in a given day, and also there's kind of this idea of mental clutter. If you're tracking 100 different investments every day, as opposed to tracking 10 different investments every day, just thinking about things that are going on in your subconscious, you're going to do way better if you only have 10 investments to think about. And this is it's really insidious. It's really easy to think, oh well, the only resources that really matter to me are like my money, or even like my time. But actually, I think it's really important to have as few investments going on as possible. which is kind of weird to think about, but I really think this whole mental focus thing, which is related to organization, being very organized, and really honing in on a few investments or one strategy. For example, there were times where I tried to do some modern investments, do some standard investments. I tried also mixing some paper, and really what I found was that when I narrowed down my focus, my results kept getting better and better as a function of how narrow my focus was. And this kind of relates to the last bullet point, information and research. So when you kind of narrow your focus, you can put all your, let's say you have some resources available to apply to research, you can really put them all into one thing. So if I'm, say, splitting my investments between modern and standard, then any time that I'm spending learning about the format, learning about magic formats, I have to spend some of it in standard and some of it in modern. And you can probably see pretty quickly why that would not be as effective as putting it all into just learning standard or just learning modern, etc. So that's kind of it for my video. I think the main takeaway is you really want to think about all the resources available to you, and there are some that are really kind of that can be easy to miss, like your mental focus, or the time you spend researching, etc. Another one that comes up is like the time you spend actually making trades. So maybe you can guarantee that you could buy a bunch of cards for 1 cent and sell them for 5 cents, but it would just take so much time to manually trade them that it's just not worth it. So that's another resource, is time, in terms of like the time it takes to make your trades. So yeah, I mean, that's basically the idea of this video. I'll say it again. You want to really think about what are all the different resources that are going on, and how are you going to manage those resources. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll probably come out with a few more. Thanks.